Hey everyone, it's Evan here from the Trade Risk on Friday, September 1st, here with a weekend market recap video. We're going to cover all of the major markets, the current market environment, and then we're going to finish off with some trade ideas. We're going to skip the sector analysis, and we're going to get into some trade ideas, something we haven't done or fused together in these market recaps in quite a while. Hopefully this video doesn't go too long, but if it does, you can always skip back to the end of this video if you just want to hear some of those long ideas. Posted some on the stream earlier today on Friday, but there's a few new ones I put in there. I think I got 6 to cover. So covering a wide array of sectors. We got a long weekend, so happy long Labor Day weekend. Markets are closed on Monday. And if you're new here, do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, totally free. Just keeps you up to date with all the latest videos that we put out, just like this. And hopefully come in September, we'll start to get some more in-between videos. Been a little light, sort of enjoying the end of summertime myself. And then I think coming into September, we should be able to put out some more videos more frequently. So let's get into markets here. S&P 500, strong finish to a bullish week here with a new weekly closing high. That's the sort of highlight of this video. We got new weekly closing highs here in the SPY, or really the cash market. Here's the best representation, 2478.07, taking out the old prior close of 2476.83. Again, that's a weekly closing basis. The daily chart didn't quite get a new daily closing high. You'd have to go back to the 7th of this month to see that last high there on a closing daily price. Regardless, very bullish action here. We came right to the top end. We'll go back to the SPY here, right to the top end of this range. We started the week really in the middle, kind of in this messy sideways point. We talked a lot about really how we got here on Wednesday's midweek video. So for more context, you could always sort of dial back and watch that video. But if you recall, we really sort of pointed out the days to take notice here, which were Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Tuesday with this gap lower really being the day that could have sort of barrel rolled this market off the cliff, but that didn't happen. In fact, we gapped lower, result, and then we rallied all day, closed like a magnet back into this range, and then we got the follow-through day on Wednesday. So that was a very sort of key indication. We said this is the next your big reference point to manage risk against here if you're an active tactical trader. And you can see towards the end of the week, we just got more follow-through on Thursday, a bit more here on Friday. You can see sort of flexing its muscles probably is this past resistance, these prior highs, this prior supply in here from late July, early August. You can see that's where the market gave a little hesitation today. Still finished positive, but hesitating just a bit. And now we're up, let's see, 6 days in a row here in the S&P 500. So we've come quite a ways here. We did have a lot of chop in here from late last week and early on Monday. So we did kind of move sideways here and really sort of establish ourselves with this higher low. And now we're back to the highs here. So next week, we're going to be very interested to see, do we just leave these old highs in the dust? Do we get new sort of follow through on a bigger picture on this weekly chart? Because you can see here on the weekly chart, we're still, it's a very constructive week, up 1.37%, but we're right back to where all of these highs were from July and early August. So can we get away from them? Can we free and continue this trend higher? We're clearly above all of the fast moving averages. So that's going to be of interest to us. Even if we get a nice, a shallow pullback again, we're going to be looking for perhaps a higher low. So even if we do kind of pull off, come back down, maybe retest 245, 246, and then head back to the highs, very constructive action. But again, we still want to just be aware of where we rallied into and the fact that we're up now 6 days in a row. And I think that counts a flat day because I think we were dead flat. Yeah, so technically I'm counting that as a positive day for 6 days in a row. But you sort of know exactly kind of how we're coming to that conclusion. So that's the S&P 500 bullish developments. I think it started on Tuesday was the first day to take notice that, and then we really just got that momentum carried with us for the rest of the week. The bears, the sellers just couldn't continue this leg lower, couldn't roll this market off the cliff on Tuesday, and that paved the way for a nice move back up to these prior highs. So that's the S&P 500. If we go to the IWM, we can very quickly see that we're not on a relative position basis, we're not at new highs here. We're not making new year-to-date highs like the S&P 500 is. We are, in fact, sort of in the midpoint of a much larger sort of range. But the bullish sort of developments here come in a different form. We're up now 7 days in a row here in the IWM, and you can see really just the hallmark of this late stage, mid stage bull rally, whatever you want to call it, or this secular bull market are these V-shaped rallies, and we're seeing it once again here play out in the IWM, where we really got kind of this uptick in volume, this kind of wash out action back here in mid-August below this long-term trend line. And ever since we really washed out here back on the 17th of August, we've been able to just float ourselves higher. The volume's been light. Many people will point, bears are going to point to that to say that this is suspect to fail, and maybe it is. But for now, the trend is higher here in the short term. We got the 8 and 20 period crossing above, and you can see we're just very quickly now back to kind of the midpoint of a lot of the supply traded throughout June and July, right in here in this 140, 140, 141 area. And from a longer term perspective, if we look at that weekly chart here, you can see we reclaimed the 8 and 20 period on the weekly chart, and perhaps we're back inside of this sort of grind higher here for the foreseeable future. So the IWM 7 days up in a row, strong weekly performance, 2.65%, constructive to see the small caps back. And the NASDAQ 100, new all-time closing highs here in the NASDAQ composite. A little bit of a digestion day here on Friday, but still best in class now. Look at that weekly chart. You can see what a difference a week makes, because this looked very concerning in here, looked very sloppy, but was still kind of holding up above the 20 period, below the 8 period, and then 1 week 2.84% to the upside. We're suddenly clearing all of this recent supply. So NASDAQ 100, a lot to like about it. S&P 500 really pulling things together. IWM, if we can hold up in this trend, then bulls, clearly starting to dominate again across the board. Breadth improved this week. New 52-week high starting to get that uptick again. McClellan oscillator, advanced decline line, those types of things also starting to shape back up. So that is the overall market environment. Again, lots of constructive developments. Let's continue to be aware that we're up 6 days in a row here in the SPY, up 7 days in a row in the IWM. So just understand that we've had a move. We're coming back into some prior resistance here, and you got to, of course, figure out how that translates into your trading strategy setup, time frame, all of that good stuff. So that's the market. Let's get into some other things here. TLT had a tough finish to the week, and maybe a telling finish to the week. Uptick in volume, a break of this very accelerated trend line here. It all started, or this move sort of to the downside, perhaps. Again, I'm saying this is a move to the downside, which is very minimal, nothing at best. But this move started on Tuesday, where we had this gap higher here, and we failed to hold those highs. We really just kind of gapped up and then just gave it all back. We had a little bit of kind of a shallow rally here over Wednesday and Thursday. Now we're kind of getting that second move lower here, almost like a two-legged sell-off here, and we're back into the 20 period. We're back into this longer term trend line that's extending from the beginning of August. So this is going to be a crucial point. Again, we got that uptick in volume. If we start to roll over here, it's going to look very similar to kind of this rally up here in May, almost the same exact kind of length as well, same exact trajectory and slope, where we started to break back down. Of course, we ended up, kind of legging back. But right now we have, if we go to that weekly chart, we got kind of this reversal candle printing here at perhaps the June high, so maybe some type of double top. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. 8 and 20 period are still up here on the weekly chart. Something to pay attention to, though, I think, if you're looking for signals to short or get back short on the TLT, maybe you're starting to get those clues right now. So that's something to pay attention to. No position for us. We were long this. We played the long side of this and exited up, fortunate enough to get off near the top. That doesn't always happen, but we are no longer in that trade, just sort of spectating on the sideline. Next, metals. GLD, strong week, 2.71% to the upside, clearing above the April-June highs, finishing the week strong, very constructive, good volume coming in. A lot to like here in GLD. You got bullish trend here, you got uptick in volume, So continue to stick with it, maybe a little bit overbought, maybe you want to wait for some sideways, consolidation, pullback, so on and so forth. But I think the trend structurally is sort of on your side there. Silver, kind of in the same camp. Again, same comments that I made in the midweek video, not as super optimistic here in silver. Just the structural basis isn't quite there, but if we start really clearing above this trend line, this slope here, that was coming down from the August highs of 2016, maybe we got something. Always want to look at those future contracts too, just to make sure you're looking at some cleaner levels there. But trend is up, uptick in volume. So silver short term, certainly can't be too upset about that. USO, very orderly in its decline here. We continue to say it looks vulnerable, and it's getting these pops, it's getting these mild saves. So it's not drastically rolling over here. We're not looking, it's not nosediving back for the old June lows. So it's really just kind of pulling back fairly methodically. I'm almost starting to look at this of more interest to the long side again, if it can start to get back above some of these fast moving averages, clear above this trend line here. I was using $10 as sort of the line in the sand, as that's sort of the bullish sort of nut to crack to the upside. Maybe, you could cheat that down to 985, 990 if we start clearing above here, break this trend line, get above those moving averages. Maybe you got something to work with in USO. So something to pay attention to. Until then, I'd still want to be a little bit cautious, just the overall structure here. You're in a bigger downtrend. So you do want to, still be cautious and understand you're kind of going against the larger trend there. So be a little careful, but USO starting to look semi-interesting. Natural gas finally starting to come together for us. So this is a trade that we've been in for a little over a week now, clearly early, and for the most part, we're sitting in the red for most of the time. But now we got a little bit of help here towards the end of the week. So if you recall, we got into natural gas. I think mentioned it the first day we got into it was back here on this day on Monday, and really it kind of just moved down lower, didn't break support though. It continued to just kind of hold up in this range, and then we had this nice bullish day here on Thursday where we kind of engulfed the past several days of trading, closed up at this resistance, and now we made a little bit of follow through. Didn't quite close on the highs on Friday, but still overall I like the setup. So original target was kind of coming back here to retest these highs up around 695, still looking to get there. We are still long this position. We're going to trail up our stop a little bit, but looking for some more out of natural gas here. I like the potential bottoming pattern and move towards these highs here, multi-month highs around June or July. So something to pay attention to. Still looks fairly pent up, but we'll have to see what it holds for us heading into the first full week of September. And I think that's everything. I think we covered all the major markets. Sectors we're going to skip today. I mean, the one standout, I'll point it out because it was just such a tremendous move, was the IBB, which was up 8% this week. Take a look at the really sharp move. And we talked about the outperformance last week, and not that we really participated in this at all, but we did kind of in our newsletter that goes out on weekends. We talked about the outperformance there in the IBB, as this was really the resilient sector and of the market, and you can see just this week all sort of hell broke loose in a good way for the bulls, where we broke above all of the recent resistance, and we're making new year-to-date highs. So very constructive developments there in the IBB. I think that's a sector you want to pay attention to on dips, pullbacks, consolidations, and those individual components. So with that, let's look at some individual trade ideas. Again, as we always sort of mention when we talk about trade ideas, they aren't necessarily ready, actionable to buy this very second, but they're stocks. I try and point out stocks that have sort of multiple time frame alignment, that are in a structural sort of uptrend or favorable price action. You need to do your own due diligence on these sort of exact entry points. And of course, that's why we have the Swing Trade Alert service. So TRN, this is my first trade idea here. You can see this is a weekly chart. Actually, you can see sort of the significance of this level that it's starting to break out from. This is a railroads play, and if we zoom out even more, this level goes all the way back to 2015, and you can see it's quite significant here. And again, maybe a little bit of a slower mover, may not get a tremendous amount of beta out of this, but daily chart here, 2.5% to the upside. Again, clearing above all of this recent resistance. So I like TRN, hold no position in it, but again, from a structural point, it's on my close watch list. get a pullback, get some consolidation, get a better entry. That's something that I'll be looking for. So that's TRN. Next, BKFS. Posted both of these on the stream earlier today. Look at the weekly chart first. Take a look at this nice structure here, nice development price action. Take a look at this week's action, 3%, getting new weekly all-time closing highs here in BKFS. Daily chart, again, you still got this pivot up here from July, but still very much in motion. So I do like that one as well. WYNN, also talked about this one, a little breakaway gap here. It's been consolidating for about 2.5 months or so. You can see nice weekly action, 6.5% to the upside, new closing highs on the year. And you can see really just maybe has some room to float back up to this 160 area up here in this pivot from 2015 or so. There's a lot of supply just traded in there, but looks good. Weekly chart, again, trend looks pretty strong. Next, NYT. New York Times. This is a position we're involved in. We did get involved in this back in here on this day, on the Friday, on this bullish engulfing bar, and we basically sat in it, moving sideways here, and then it got kind of this new breakout. So the daily chart's already in motion, but the weekly chart, kind of want to point out to you here, you can see, again, nice kind of stair-step pattern here. I mean, it had this big move up in May, kind of grinded higher, had a methodical pullback here for a few weeks, and now it could be lifting up again. So again, a little bit delayed here, maybe a bit of a chase, but something, again, I think has some structural uptrend potential on multiple time frames. Next, GBT. So talking about biotech, talking about that sector that's on fire right now. GBT is one that's on my watch list. Look at this here on the weekly chart. Lots of consolidation. This is the full length view here. So it was an IPO in 2015 or spinoff, I'm not sure. But you can see had a huge move out of the gate to start the year off of this year of 2017, rallying from 13 all the way up to 40. Then it's been consolidating, it pulled back, and it's just been moving sideways, collecting itself, working off sort of overbought conditions from here, really kind of carving out a higher low, higher base here. So I like it. I'm paying attention to it. I like it if it can get basically some follow through from where it is right now, lifting above all of this area, 31 or so. That seems interesting to me. So GBT on my watch list for next week. And finally, NEM. So gold, we talked about gold being a hot place right now, the commodity. If you want to look at gold miners, GDX is obviously a way you could express that with the ETF. NEM here, Newmont, looks a little more attractive to me from a risk to reward basis. You get, of course, the risk of owning just the individual stock, but NEM here you can see on a weekly chart looking nice, having a nice breakout this week from the structural level right around $37. It's clearly in motion now, a little bit of an uptick in volume here, but I like it. Daily chart, here's what it looks like. So you can see, again, a little bit of volume coming in over the past several days this week, but the trend is up. Everything looks fairly favorable here. If you believe in gold, if you believe in the miners in general, take a look at NEM. So those are the trade ideas I have for you. 6 of them, all on the long side. Again, use that in context with the market environment, everything else we sort of discussed, and your own personal risk tolerance, strategy, and time frame. Have a good weekend. Thanks so much for watching. Again, don't forget to subscribe if you like these videos, and I will talk to you in the next video. Thanks.